Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in this video, we are going to go into the technical details on how to solve quadratic equation. Okay, so previous video, we already talked about why we learn quadratics and why it is important in mathematics. If you haven't watched it, you can watch it in the link in the description box. So before we begin, we need to know the difference between a quadratic equation and a quadratic function. So a quadratic function will be in the form of y equals to ax squared plus bx plus c. And then a quadratic equation will be in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. So a quadratic equation is a function when the y is 0. Okay? So there are three ways to solve a quadratic equation. The first one is going to be factorization, which we are going to learn in this video. And then in the next few videos, we are going to learn about the next method, which is complete the square, and then the quadratic formula, or as I usually say it, it's the ABC formula. Okay, so again, in this video, we are going to learn about how to solve equation with factorization. So without further ado, let's try to see some direct examples, okay? So let's say that we have this equation, x squared plus 3x plus 2 equals to 0. So how can we solve it with factorization? The first step that we need to do is that we have to split the middle part. So 3x can be split into px plus qx. And we also know that p plus q, that means it should be 3. But we need another equation to know what is P and Q. So the other equation will be P times Q, a multiplication of P and Q, and the multiplication of P and Q, as you can see in the top left, we need to use the coefficient of the x squared, and we have to use the lone number, which is the constant. So P times Q is going to be 1, which is the coefficient of the x squared, and then multiplied by 2, which is the lone number in the equation. So P times Q is equal to 2. So we have two numbers, P and Q. P plus Q is 3, and then P times Q is 2. So what are the values of P and Q? I'll let you try to think this through first. Okay, yeah. So P and Q is equal to 1 and 2. But you can also say that P is 2, Q is 1, it's also fine. Okay? After we find the P and Q, we are going to split the equation as follows. So x squared plus x plus 2x plus 2. And then as you can see, we can split this part, we can split this equation into two parts, the green one and the yellow one. So next step is that we can factorize this. So as you can see on the green part, x squared plus x, we have a common factor, which is x. And we can use this theory which we learned in primary school. So a times b plus a times c, you can take out the a, which is the common factor. So a times b plus c. So for the green part, it can be x times x plus 1. You take out the x. And then for the yellow part, you can take out the common factor, which is also 2. So 2 times x plus 1. Okay? So we need to be familiar with this technique because this is the key point for factorization. And then as you can see, we have two terms. Okay? X times x plus 1 plus 2 times x plus 1. So these two terms have a common factor, which is x plus 1. So we can do the same thing. We can take out the x plus 1 and the remaining will be also inside a bracket, which is x plus 2. So x plus 1 times x plus 2 is equal to 0. So this is how we factorize a quadratic equation. Okay? So now, in order to solve this, we know that the equation can be 0 if x plus 1 is 0 or x plus 2 is 0. So the equation can be equal to 0 if one of them is 0. So we will have two answers over here, which is x equals to -1 or x equals to -2. Okay, so that is how we solve by factorization. X is also called the roots of the equation. And the general step to solve factorization, as we saw earlier, is that we need to find p plus q and p times q. We need to find p and q, and then we need to split the middle part of the equation. We need to factorize it, just like what we saw before, and then we need to find the roots. Okay, so here is another example. So again, we have to split the middle part first so that it becomes px plus qx, so that we know p plus q is equal to 5. What is p times q? Remember again, it's going to be a multiplication of the coefficient of x squared and the lone number. So p times q is 2 times 2, which is 4. So p plus q is 5, p times q is 4. What is the p? What is the q? So the p and the q should be 1 and 4. But if you try to swap it, it's also fine. So after you find the p and q, you can try to split the middle part. So it's going to be like this. And then remember that we can take out the common factor. So for the green part and the yellow part, we can take out the common factor. And then it's going to be like this. So for the green part, the common factor is x. So it's going to be x times 2x plus 1. And then for the yellow part, it's going to be 2 times 2x plus 1. And as we can see, we also have another common factor, which is 2x plus 1. So we can try to do the same thing. And then we can try to factorize this again. So x plus 2 times 2x plus 1. If we switch the order, is it okay? It's fine. Yeah, so if you want to say it's 2x plus 1 times x plus 2, it's also fine. And after this, we can find the roots. So x plus 2 is equal to 0, or 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. And we have x equals to -2, or x equals to -1/2. So let's try to see another example. So in this case, again, we have to find px plus qx. So p plus q is equal to 13, and then p times q is going to be -2 times -21, which is 42. So this one is a bit difficult because the number is a bit big, but it's also no problem, okay? So p should be 6 and q should be 7. And after that, we can try to split the equations, and we can try to find the green part and the yellow part, and then we can try to factorize it. So for the green part, we can take out 2x, since that is the common factor. So 2x times -x plus 3 plus 7 times x minus 3. But here's the thing though, as you can see, those two terms doesn't actually have the same common factor. For the left part, it's -x plus 3. For the right part, it's x minus 3. So we want to make it the same, right? We want to make it the same. How can we make it the same? We can make it the same by taking out the minus sign. As you can see on the right part, we can take out -1, and the term in the bracket, it changes into -x plus 3, because we need to remember that a minus b is equal to -1 times b minus a. So this one is a very simple theory. We sometimes neglect it, but it's going to be very important when we solve with factorization. So I think we should keep that in mind. So after this, we can try to do the usual method. So it's going to be 2x minus 7 times -x plus 3. And we have x equals to 7/2, or x equals to 3. I think you are more familiar than the first time you see the examples. So I hope this will be very good to you. So these are the exercises that I make myself. I hope that you guys can try to do these exercises in order to make yourself more familiar with the method. I will also try to post the answers in the description box. So the next part that we are going to go through in this video is what we call a rational function. So a rational function, there will be three types of rational function found on this topic. The first one will look something like this, a over b equals to 0. And the example of the function is going to look like this. So it doesn't look like a quadratic equation, but we can solve this with the method that we learned before. The next type is going to be like this, a over b equals to k, where k is going to be a constant or a number. The example will be something like this. And the last one is going to look like this, a over b plus c over d equals to a number. There are many more types of rational function, but in this topic, we are going to learn these three. And don't worry, even if the function looks a bit scary, they all have a common way of solving. So let's try to go through to the first example. So this is the first example that we are going to see. So the first step that we should do, guys, is that we have to multiply both sides by the denominator. Remember that denominator is the bottom part in the fraction, which is x plus 1. So if we try to multiply it with x plus 1, it's going to look something like this. After that, we can try to cross out the common terms. Yeah, we can try to cross out the same numerator and denominator. And after that, we can try to rearrange and simplify. So if we try to rearrange it, it's going to look like this. And remember that 0 times x plus 1 is also going to be 0. Okay, so 0 times any number should be 0. So in the end, we have a simple quadratic equation, and we can solve this with the method that we learned earlier. So we can factorize this, and we get x plus 2 times x plus 3 equals to 0, and we get that x equals to negative 2, or x equals to negative 3. So let's try to take a look at the next example. So we are going to work on the second type of the rational function, but the way of solving is going to be very similar. So we should multiply both sides by the denominator. After we multiply it, we can try to cross out what we can cross out. And then we shall try to rearrange and simplify the equation. After we try to rearrange it, it's going to end up as a simple quadratic equation, which we can factorize. And after we factorize, we get x times x plus 1 equals to 0. So the answer should be x equals to 0 or x equals to minus 1. Now you might be thinking, why is the minus 1 excluded? Because we need to remember to leave out any invalid roots. Why is minus 1 an invalid root? Let's take a look. What happens if x is equal to minus 1? If x is equal to minus 1 and we try to plug in that values, the left side of the equation will be 0 over 0. Now, we need to remember that any division with 0 will be undefined. No matter what the numerator will be, any division by 0 will be undefined. And because of that, x minus 1, x equals to minus 1, should be an invalid root. I hope this clears up the confusion. So in the next example, we're going to look at the third type of rational function. Again, the method to solve this will be identical. It's just that now, we need to multiply both sides by the product of the denominator. So we need to multiply it by the multiplication of the denominator, which will look like this. So we will multiply both sides by x plus 3 times x plus 4. Again, we can try to rearrange this. We can try to simplify this, and we will get something like this. So 5 over x plus 3 multiplied by x plus 3 times x plus 4, you can eliminate the x plus 3, so you get only x plus 4. And for the 3x over x plus 4, you can cross out the x plus 4, so you get 3x times x plus 3. And for the right side, there is no problem, you just have to multiply it. So after this, you can try to simplify, and we will end up with a very simple equation. And we know that the roots of this equation should be minus 2 or 2. Again, we need to see if we should leave out any invalid roots, if there are any. So now let's try to look at some real-life problems, or usually it's called word problems. So a rectangular garden has an area of 48 meters squared. Its length is 2 meters longer than its width. We need to find the dimension of the garden. Dimension means you need to find the length and also the width. So in this case, we can try to illustrate the rectangle, and let's just say that the length is equal to x. If the length is equal to x, that means the width should be x minus 2 because the length is 2 meters longer. And then we can try to write out the equation because we know from the problem that the area should be 48. So length times width should be 48. So we need to write out all the available informations and then transform them into an equation. After we transform it into an equation, we can try to define it with the variables. So we know that length is x, width is x minus 2. So we have this equation. X times x minus 2 is equal to 48. And then we can try to expand, we can try to simplify, so we end up with a simple quadratic equation. And then we just need to factorize. So to factorize this, we just need to use the method that we learned. So it's going to be x plus 6 times x minus 8. So we know that x should be equal to 8. Now you might be thinking why x equals to negative 6 is impossible, because we know that there is no way that the length of the garden will be a negative number. So therefore, it's invalid. So there's only one eligible answer. So the length should be 8 meters and the width should be 6 meters. Okay? So let's try to take a look at the next example. The next example, we are going to look at the area of the trapezium is 35.75 centimeters squared, and we need to find the value of x from this figure. Okay, so again, we need to find an equation based on the information in the problem. So the problem gives us info about the area, so we need to write out the formula for the area, especially for a trapezium. And then we can try to plug in the variables. So the sum of the parallel sides should be x minus 1 plus x plus 3 divided by 2 and then multiplied by the height, which is x. And this will be equal to 143 over 4 because that is the fraction form of 35,75. So again, we should try to expand and simplify, and we end up with a simple equation. We just have to make it like a quadratic equation. So after we try to simplify it, we get this nice quadratic equation, and then we just need to factorize with the previous method. So we know that we will end up with 2x minus 11 times 2x plus 3. And you can try to guess it. There's only one valid answer, which is 11 over 2. Because if x is equal to minus 13 over 2, it's going to be invalid because we know that negative length is impossible. Okay? So these are the exercise that I want to give you regarding rational functions. I hope you can try to work on it. And I also add number 7, which is a word problem, so that you can also try to do it. I'll try to leave the answer and also the procedure in the description box. Okay, so that's it for this video. In this video, we learned about how to solve a quadratic equation with the factorization method. I hope you learned a lot. Please leave a comment if you have something that you want to ask, and don't forget to leave a like and don't forget to subscribe. In the next video, we are going to learn about other methods to solve quadratic equation. So I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.